Hi guys, can you hear me? Get to the comments. Can you all hear? Just checking. Checking. Just type in if you can hear me, guys. Yes, okay. Thanks you, RX. I appreciate. Jeffrey, thanks. Okay, hi guys. Happy Wednesday. I don't know where you all are, but it's cold as anything up here. Really, really cold. Okay, so I'll just jump into it. How's that? I see there's some stuff here. Okay, so we have RX. I don't think we've met before, right? Okay, hello, Stephanie. I've been on SSDI since 2017, categorized as mine, which for the rest of you, if you do not know, that is medical improvement not expected, and never had a CDR. I am now 65. Do you think it's likely I would still get a review? No, I don't. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to make you the priority. And what I expect is, so it's 17, we're talking, what are we at? That's 8 years ago. You're probably on that 7-year diary. And, you know, they've had a shortage of staff for the last few years and everything's kind of been slowed up. And then they had a little, maybe a 3 or 4 month, if that, temporary kind of not adding any new CDRs for a few months so they could use those people. That was this summer. Use those people for initial and recons, which have been, as most of you know, really slow. And I just don't necessarily think you are. And I think they're probably, and this is just what seems natural and in my gut, is that they're not going to spend the time on you when A, it's unlikely that you've improved in 8 years, right? As we approach our older years. And what are they going to gain from it? You know, you'd be switching to full retirement in 2 years anyway. So, you know, I don't see there's much that they would have anything to gain one way or the other. So, you know, merit wise, it's foolish, and financially wise, I think it's foolish. But anyway, I hope that relieves you a little bit. Okay, Tara, hi. I don't think we met, did we? Tara Denise. Greetings all, she says. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you for donating your time. When can we? I have no idea. I don't follow reviews, but if you want to do a good one, that's more than welcome, Tara. Thank you. Oh, you do have a question. Good. So I'm moving down. Tara Denise, again, question. I received SSDI for myself. I'm applying for SSI for my daughter who is 22. A friend told me that I can apply for her under me. I've looked it up, but don't see any way to do that. Okay. So if your daughter, as far as you know, Tara, in your belief, and hopefully with medical records that are really robust over the last years, if your daughter in your estimation has been disabled from working as an adult under the adult rules at some point between 18 and 22 or before that, but it's continued, then you can simultaneously file her for SSI, because now your monies don't interfere with her. You know, she, you know, as long as she doesn't have bank accounts in her name and all that stuff, since she has no working income, or at least not a lot. At the same time, file for DAC, disabled adult child, which could be under you because you are getting SSDI. So that tells me that you are insured for Social Security and you're collecting. So you've triggered it because you're collecting. You've triggered it for other dependents, should they be eligible, can file under your number. So you could do both. SSI, you know, if you file for both and they find that she's not disabled before the age of 22, the DAC would go away unless you appeal that portion. But you can still pursue the SSI well into over 22 because there's no age 22 proving time limit. It's nice if you can get her DAC though, because then she's not always going to be, if it's going to always kind of disability, and not necessarily it is, but the SSI could be replaced by the DAC, and then your child is not relegated to SSI and all those many extra rules that apply. She can't inherit on SSI while keeping her SSI, all that kind of stuff. There's so many nuances to it. So yeah, I would definitely, since she's only 22, what's the chance that it happened yesterday when she was 22? It's probably been an ongoing thing. Again, I don't know though, maybe it was a acute accident or something, but I would file for both, you know, if the shoe fits. Okay. And of course, if your daughter has worked, I have a client like this now, about the same age, did work very on again, off again due to her symptoms. But guess what? It got her insured for SSD at this time. It will expire if she doesn't prove she's disabled during this time. But, you know, it's a great thing. So she has the opportunity for DAC, her own SSD, and SSI, which any of all may pan out. Okay. Laura James, oh my God, this is impossible to find out. Really? How is it? I don't even know how it looks from your end. So, you know, it's funny when I go, and sometimes I jump into my friend Jonathan's Wednesday night Q&A. I just go kind of to his channel, and then I kind of try to find it. Like I agree with you, Laura, in a way, because I have trouble finding things too. I don't know why. So I hope I know when I go into it, it looks different though, because I'm going into my channel content, and then there is a little tab for live. I don't know what it looks like for you guys, because I too have problems finding other people's stuff. I'm not the most techie of people though. So. Hi, Jeffrey. Good to see you again from South Texas. Okay, Laura, let me get to you now. Laura James, I appealed my denial 8 months ago. Good old Google says it could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months. Oh, it could take longer than that. Thoughts? And yes, I can hear you good. Yeah, you know, it's been really slow the last couple years. I don't anticipate that changing in the next month or two. I don't know what's going to happen, you know, how soon things are going to be improved upon, given all the auditing that's got to go on, you know, that's hopefully going to help solve that problem. But 2 weeks to 6 months, you appealed your denial. So I assume it was your denial on initial, and now you're on reconsideration and it's sitting there. Do you have an adjudicator yet? Is someone working up your file up at the DDS? Those are things you're going to want to know. If you've never gotten a letter saying it's at the DDS from that adjudicator asking for more medical information, then that's kind of maybe a telltale sign that it's sitting there waiting for an adjudicator. And that has been a big problem for everybody across the country, because they, you know, did a hiring freeze a year or two ago, and, you know, attrition, people quit. There's been a lot of quittings, like 2 or 3 years ago, there was mass quits, great big resignation. So I can't really speak to whether you'll get a final decision. And by the way, if you're on recon, it's not necessarily final, because if you get denied on recon, you're going to appeal to an ALJ hearing, right? Yes, you are. So it could take only knows. If you do have an adjudicator, I would call them. If you had one and now it's silent, that person might be off your case. I'd call them anyway and say, hey, can you tell me where my case is at? You know, are you the adjudicator? If not, is there a different adjudicator? And of course, these are all things you do if you're representing yourself. If you have an attorney or a non-attorney rep, I would expect them to be doing it for you. Oh, RX topic gifted 10. Thank you. That's really sweet. I always forget that option is there. Okay, so RD. Okay. How long is it taking to get a hearing once it is requested? That's from RD. Good question. It varies. It's not as quick as it was a few years ago. Back in, I want to say 19, it bustled up to like 4 months, 5 months. It was so fast, it was almost detrimental to some of my clients, because if I took them late in the day, if they were like newer clients, they'd already done a lot of damage on initial and recon, and now I'm jumping in before hearing. It was almost trouble because I didn't have time with them for them to follow the advice to make what was missing before stronger. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, you love that it's fast, but I know there's great ways to use initial and recon to strengthen your case. People that want to get rid of reconsideration, I might be in the minority that disagree. I know it's longer, but it is an opportunity. We win a lot in recon. So it's an opportunity to win without having to go to a hearing, without having to wait a year for a hearing, which seems to be maybe now what we're creeping up to again, since maybe, I don't know, some point last year. I can't really say. It varies. Like I've had cases that we've requested 3 or 4 months ago, and we haven't gotten a scheduled hearing yet. And then when we do get a schedule, I expect it to be at least 2.5 months out. But maybe now they're going 3, 4, 5 months from the time they schedule it, because that's how things are going along with their scheduling. Laura James, don't apologize. Questions are good. I have so many questions. Can you fire, let your attorney go? They've done nothing for me. I have actually a playlist with a few videos on that. It's the cons of doing that, the things to at least consider before you do it, and how you want to get your ducks in a row. Particularly if you want to get only if you want to get another representative on the case, because there are some negatives that come with that, including fee splitting requirements and all this other stuff. I do have videos on that, Laura. It'll talk about how you can try to get from your prior representative you can withdraw and cancel it at any time. There are ways to do that officially, and they have no say about the matter. But they will have a right to a fee from you should you prevail, which is what makes it harder for you to get another attorney or non-attorney rep, because they might be doing gazillion hours of work and they're only going to get even half of the already limited fee. So there is all that to worry about. Again, go check out those. It's probably under like attorney fees, attorney representative, maybe. There's some, I think it's under those kind of playlists. As for, and I hear this a lot, they've done nothing for me. You don't really know that, because you don't know all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, whether it's, putting the future potential brief together all along as we go. That's what we do now. I used to wait till it was actually going to go to hearing. That's so stressful. I like to have it all. It also just helps us stay on top and give better legal advice along the way. So we have ours kind of being worked on from the time we take on the client, kind of getting filled in a little bit. And then the real crux comes obviously a few months before hearing. But you can't say they've done nothing. You don't know. Now, maybe you're saying, yeah, but I did my function report. They didn't even look at it. I just had to send it in. That's what they told me to do blindly. Same with work history report. They didn't do it. That's a bit of a problem. But there could be other stuff you're just unaware of. Records ordering, that kind of thing, and setting it up to the SSA. I think the problem is they're not communicating with you, maybe, as maybe would be better. And that's been, even before I was doing Social Security disability, when I was doing regular New Jersey state law, and a lot of the nasty areas like divorce, low-level criminal, all that kind of thing. It was probably the biggest complaint that the bar received on people was the lack of communication, like not even hearing back from your lawyer. It's not the substance of the conversation, it's the lack of responsiveness. So that might be what's making you feel like they're doing nothing. I don't know. And it is a shame. It's so easy now with technology to be responsive with portals. I love our portal. I don't like paying for it, but I love that I have it. Because there's messaging, there's texting, because we can't always be hopping on the horn, just to hear each other breathe, but getting the information that someone wants, if it's something that can be shared or is available, or just reassuring somebody. And a lot of times it's us reaching out. We always want to know certain information. So there's kind of a obligation on the part of the clients to keep us informed. And sometimes we check in if we haven't heard in a while. Okay. Furry plants, you're funny. Okay, Zara, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, my lawyer is supposed to call me today at 1 p.m. and hasn't called yet. Court next Wednesday. Oh, they just might be stopped up a little bit. It's only 1:15. I'd give them a little time. You know, just in case they could be in a hearing and the judge hasn't let them out yet. You just don't know what's outside of their control. That's all I'll say on that. Otherwise, they should be on time and punctual. You are so funny, Furry. See that about Furry? He got a gift. Or she got a gift, sorry. Oh, Laura James. Okay. She's saying that there's notifications for the live streams that eventually, I don't know, do they come up right when it starts, Laura? Or do they warn you in advance, like 10 minutes if you ask for a notification? I don't know how it works. Sorry. I'm just the dumb hump behind the camera. Okay. Neolog. Nice to see you. I don't think we've met. SSDI since 2019. Okay, good. Not likely to improve. Age 61 in a few weeks. Likely to get a CDR. Do you know what your diary is? I can't really say, but you've been on it for almost 6 years, or possibly 6 years. That's pretty lengthy. That suggests you're in a 5 to 7 year diary date, maybe a mine. Medical improvement not expected. And you're 61. When you prevailed, you were 54 or 55, right? If you were 54, you prevailed on the lowest level of extra rules that help us win a little bit. Those are the grid rules everybody's aware of. And then you passed into 55, which was the higher subset. And really, 61 is over 60. And there is a little bit more of a tweaking, not in the same way as, it's a lot the same as over 55, but there is a little bit. There is one little rule, and I don't even know off the top of my head what I think it's a Social Security ruling. I'd have to double check that, but it kind of has a sentence in there about when we're 60 or over, if they expect us to do other work, and it's assuming you can't do your old job, like you didn't recover enough to do your old kind of work. Not to mention your old work is no longer the old work because now you've been out more than 5 years. It has to be almost the identical same. All the processes have to be the same. All the technology can't have changed. I mean, it's got to be so identical to what you used to do, but less exertional and, an easier RFC exertion. And that's just really unlikely. With technology changing, our jobs and how they're done changes a lot too. So probably not universally absolute, but I think even if you were to be up for your CDR, it's very possible they bypass you or they send you the short form. And that is really, when they send you the short form, it is, as my understanding is, it's because they don't expect you to have improved. So unless you say something very bizarre on the short form, like, oh yes, I just told my doctor how great I feel and I'm going back to work, I can go back to, you have to really screw up good, like not go to any doctors at all, because now you've improved enough not to go. Hope that's not the case. Everybody's got to always keep getting treatment, even if it's not as robust as when you were fighting for your disability. But, if you keep it reasonable follow-ups and you have not improved, it's going to be pretty easy to show them in a short form that nothing's really changed. You're just going on in life with your disabilities and, no need for the CDR because it's just going to be a waste of time, money, and energy and resources, particularly people, which are really short in supply at the SSA right now and for the last couple of years. Hi, Maggie. Oh, you're welcome. I was denied at initial. This is Maggie. I was denied at initial without any medical scene. They didn't give you a consultative examination, it sounds like, Maggie. Their reasoning was because I had an active LLC. Oh, I closed the LLC, but it's crazy that was the reason. Well, it depends. Were you working for the LLC or were you only owning the LLC and you hired people to fulfill all the obligations? Or if you were doing some of them, was it so absolutely minimal? Did they give you a form about that, like an 820 or an 821? I'm thinking. You know, you're bringing any income, and if you reported it as your wages, you know, and I'm trying to, it would have to be, we have to show that all, you know, you're expensing out all of the expenses to get the work done was being paid for someone else to do it. You are only getting owner's equity of sorts. I think that's how you would have to have presented that. And if you didn't, if your income was put down on your tax return, this is what I'm thinking now. So this is my best response to this. If your income was reported, you report it as if you earned it yourself, as opposed to it being kind of like an investment return, because now you're not doing the work, then yeah, it showed up as you're working. That's the way you filed your taxes, I think. So you might want to look into that if you're gonna file again. Yeah. Because remember, all those employees you hired to do all the work for you that you're no longer doing, including not doing a lot of management, those would be business expenses written off that would be reducing your income. And then I believe you would be potentially categorizing your other income in a way that wasn't wages, you know, since you're not actually doing the work. Something to look into with your tax preparer, or maybe better yet, to get an accountant. It's kind of out of my pay lane with that. I got troubles doing my own taxes. I'm working on them as we speak. I can't stand it. And I always have to pay. I never estimate correctly. Okay. Hi, Tara Denise again. Were you the one talking about the daughter? I think she's been in special ed all throughout school with an IEP, never worked, bipolar, mood disorder, depression, anxiety, ADHD, obesity, PCOS, prediabetes, severe learning disability, 7+ meds. Yeah, I mean, I would go for all those things we talked about, Tara. I would not leave it at SSI. I would be, since I think you said you're getting SSD, so she could potentially get DAC. So you're gonna want to assert that she was disabled since, whether it's birth or 5th grade or whenever the stuff started kicking in. That doesn't mean they're going to pay her back to them or anything, but at least they'll help you get all the educational stuff that's hopefully still there if you haven't kept a copy. If there were hospitalizations going on, you know, inpatient, that can be helpful. I'm sorry that she's going through all that. That's tough for a young person to be burdened with that, right? It's just not fair. But yeah, see what you can do about that DAC. DAC is so, you only have one shot though, because of the fact that you're doing it this late in the day. When they decide it, they're going to decide it through at least age 22. And you would have had to prove that it was before age 22. So if you apply and you get denied, you appeal for recon. If you get denied there, you appeal for ALJ. So appeal that as far as you can appeal it if you lose on the DAC. SSI, you can always keep applying. You can appeal it too, but at least you can always have a new application. With DAC, you're not going to be able to do that once they decide no, if you don't continue to appeal it to the best possible extent you can to get that reversed. Because once it's carved in stone, without further appeal, you are stuck with the result, and she can never get DAC again. Okay? As a general rule. Lord James. I've been speaking with my adjudicator. She's super sweet, and since my attorney never calls me back. Oh my God, isn't that crazy? Oh my God. Okay, I get it. Have you reached out to your attorney and said, you know, I feel like I'm doing all the conversing with the adjudicator. Shouldn't you be doing that? Or, you know, have you reached out and see what they say? I mean, my people don't talk to the adjudicator. I'd give a big old spanking, you know? No. Are you on initial, Laura? Or are you on recon? Your attorney never calls you back. And he doesn't have a portal, does he? Gosh. The portal, you know, I wish I would tell it's worth the investment. And there are varying prices out there with different companies, but the one I have is month to month, and I've been with it for like 15 years, and it's really good. And it was so much smaller and less features back when I started, and they just started to grow, which made the price per month grow, but it's better than lopping out several $1,000s to get started with somebody. So I think it's great for particularly newbies, you know. I mean, when I started, I wasn't quite a newbie, but I was definitely in the earlier part of my practice. It's very different from now. Clara Ross. I feel like we met before. Did we, Clara? Filed, like maybe last week. Filed in January 2024, and as of today, still don't have a decision in Texas. So it's been a year and a month. SSA worker indicated they don't have a time limit. Of course they don't, because they don't get spanked if they sit down and don't work on your case. So, you know, yeah, there's some inefficiencies going on there too, particularly when an SSA worker feels like, I don't have time limit, I can take my time. But in all truth, they probably do get a little spanked by their manager if they have the case and they're not working it. It could be that you didn't have one for a long time, Clara, and then they finally got one. A lot of people wait like 6 months, 8 months for an adjudicator to be assigned to them because there just aren't enough right now. And by the way, this was never a problem my entire practice until a couple years ago. Never. So somehow they just haven't been keeping up with, you know, whatever they're doing. Okay. Oh, Clara, you're on the initial. Yeah, it's a long time. There's a lot of people in that boat, though. It's not really unusual right now. Hold on one second, guys. I just have to do one little thing here because there is something I got to tell someone, believe it or not. Okay. Okay. Laura James, I never hear from them. That's her attorney she's talking about, guys. And I never get advice like when I had my mental and physical evaluation. No. I call them, they never call me back. I keep up with my medical records, so I sent them mine. Yeah, I have a video for my people when they are going to do a consultative exam. So I don't have to sit there and repeat myself over and over again. But and because we don't know exactly what's going to happen at the exam, we just know what generally happens at the exam and things to look out for and be wary of, etc. So I have a video on that. It looks like you already had your exam, so it's too late for you. Hi, DJ. Nice to see you again. Okay. Cafe Mocha. I could go for a Cafe Mocha. Hello. How long did SSA count the COVID pandemic relief and economic stimulus checks towards the two? They didn't. I believe that stuff did not. Oh, you mean like how long could you save it for? I don't know. Do not know. I assume there was a limit eventually, but I know when you received it, it didn't count as income, which any other income would have. So, as I recall. If they're not, yeah, of course. Can they issue an overpayment if they look back and see it wasn't paid down? Yeah. And again, I don't know what the time frame is. Like, did they put an end date on that so that it doesn't like circumvent the rules forever, or or was it an open thing? Everyone who got one can always have $1,200 sitting in be $1,200 over. But you really want to look at that because it could be that every single month since a certain time frame, you're going to owe back all those SSI payments. And of course, guys, that is only for SSI, not for SSD. Okay, Neolog, I see you at a 5 to 7 year mine. That's good. I think you're going to be fine one way or the other as long as you did the basics. Okay. All right. Tara's saying that notification for the live stream comes up saying you'll be live in 30 minutes. Oh, well, that's super sweet. Gotta love technology. Thank you, YouTube. Laura James, one more question, and I'll leave you alone. You're fine. There's not a lot of questions here, I don't think. Is it up to Social Security how much your attorney gets paid? Yes, it's entirely up to Social Security. However, there are rules that you can see what Social Security goes by. It's at 25% of back benefits capped at $9,200, blah, blah, or the fee petition, in which case they decide kind of a la carte. I have playlist on that too. Look under attorney's fees if you want to listen to more details on that. Maggie, yeah, I see that you're talking about your LLC. Then you got to look at your tax returns and see how you filed it. And if it was far under SGA, then you should have appealed when they said they weren't, when they denied you. I hope you did that and are still on your case. If not, if they closed it before, and they just closed it and you didn't get to do medical workup, which sounds like it too, you can reapply with the same old date. And I would argue that they should reopen it, that old date, since they closed it inappropriately. DJ, here we go. DJ Kenny. I just had 5 days prednisone that made me very anxious with bad back pain late in day to follow. Sorry about that. We are prednisone users here too when someone has an asthma flare-up. See, the relapse of meds gave me more problems. Best way to have on record, so complain to your doctor. That is how you get it in the record, not just telling it to a judge 3 years later. So, and if you're not taking a prescribed medication because you feel it's too risky for you, you need to talk to your doctor about it and get that on the record, in the medical record, in the best case scenario. If you don't find that your doctor is putting it in the record, if he has a portal, I would be messaging him all the things you would like him to know that he might not otherwise put in your record. And then you want to make sure those messages get to the SSA, which can be tricky because they're not going to be probably printed out in your portal records. Most of the time they're not. You might have to individually print them out and then send them with your portal records. If they don't have a portal, you could fax them a letter to say, I just need this. I just need you to know this before my appointment coming up on so-and-so date, and then go to it. I mean, be diplomatic the way you say it. Don't be, I wouldn't say, because you don't put anything in my record, you should. I'm telling you this now, just be a little more get more bees with honey, right? There are ways. Hi, Trish. Good to see you again. Okay, skimming down. Oh, Laura James, you have a huge outfit. Yeah, they probably, do you know if you go on the website, do they practice more areas than just Social Security? And if so, how many more? In other words, is Social Security the redheaded stepchild, the little tag along that doesn't get a lot of attention because it doesn't make them money? That might be. I don't know. And don't put their name up here, please. Okay, scrolling down. Oh, Furry, you bring up a good point. Not particular to what you're talking to Tara about, but you use WebMD to look up medication side effects and issues when taking multiple medications, interactions in the medical. Okay, I just want to bring this part up. Not that Furry is alluding to this specifically, but it's a point well taken that I would, if I was a claimant, and we do this with our people by and large, look up your medications and see what the potential common side effects are, not necessarily the serious ones that would probably land you in the ER anyway, and see if you have any of those symptoms. You don't have to know for a fact it came from a medication or came from another impairment, just that you have the symptom, because you're not the doctor who can pick out where, thread the needle. It came from here, here, here. Plus, there's multiple medicines that cause the same thing. And then if you have those side effects, I would be putting them under the section, I think it's on the function report, maybe, perhaps, where you put the side effects and put them all down. Someone else can weed out which one they think it came from. It doesn't matter which one it came from, really. It's a side effect you have. And if you have it all day long, I mean, sometimes the side effects are debilitating. And that's why they ask that question, because side effects of medications can be limiting. They might not limit all jobs, but they might limit the one where you need to concentrate strongly. It could eliminate a high-skilled job. So if you are a high-skilled person and you're going to be held accountable for proving you can't do a high-skilled job, that can be helpful. and other things. I mean, some medications cause edema. Some cause nausea, and then you got to take, Zofran or something. And that causes side effects. I mean, it's a terribly ricocheting situation. But we use, whether it's drugs.com or there's a few different sites that have the side effects. And I think it's really important that you use that information. Sometimes you think, well, my so-and-so is just part of my impairment, so I'm not putting it down. Well, no, you put it down. And if it's a potential side effect, it might have been coming from the medicine. You don't know for sure. I'd be putting it down under medicines. That's just me. Okay, so Jamie, nice to see you. Jamie, is it Lakowitz or Lachowitz? I think it's Lakowitz, maybe, right? Am I right or am I wrong, Jamie? I'm always trying to guess pronunciations. My husband just had his federal court appeal remanded. Oh, good. Does he have a better chance on the remand hearing compared to the first ALJ hearing? Well, every case is different and every judge is different. Presumably, it's going back to the same judge that denied him, and that concerns people a lot. However, I will say with personal experience, my remands tend to be awarded. In fact, I'm trying to think if I ever had one that wasn't. And I don't know that I have. So there is that. Sometimes it might be awarded with a different date. Yesterday's hearing was a point in question about that, which we did prevail. And this was a younger individual, so this was really awesome. I say younger, in the 40s, not like 20s. But we did amend the onset, but it was still before the DLI. So it was a win in my book, a big win, because you kind of expect to lose these cases. We do them because we think people that we know in our internal gut are disabled, regardless of their age, deserve to have great representation and not have to wing it alone or deal with, some crappy outfit. But there's only so many you can take, right? Because there's so many. And there is a higher chance of losing those. There'll be more loss of those for us than others. But it's still a vast difference compared to what their stats probably otherwise would be, So to us, it's the right thing to do. You take the hits and you just, the rest of your practice can withstand it. And you're giving, maybe young people who would, have a 95% chance of losing now only have a 30% chance of losing, So you have to limit them, but, it usually takes more work, more hours, sometimes more years, but they might be the people that need it the most because they have this longer years ahead of them without being able to work. They're not going to be able to grow that retirement, all that. Okay, let's see. Angie, nice to see you again. For a depression back pain case, how does a function report help or hurt? Is this really useful to a case or just reasons to deny? I don't know if you've heard me say it before. I'm like, you can't really win on your function report, but you can definitely sink your ship with your function report. That's why it's very important to do it right. You don't want you don't want your own statements to be the thing that sinks your ship, right? So that's why I think the function report is really important to do it right. It's not going to win you. Remember, legally, the foundation of your case, mandatorily, under the rules, is your medical evidence. So that is what you need to win. But of course, if your own statements contradict your doctor's and you're saying, I can go mountain climbing, they're not going to take your doctor's statements as to your limitations to heart because you yourself just contradicted them. So function report is really important. I see it all the time, used in an ALJ decision, both for supporting a decision to award and for supporting a decision to deny. So you don't want it to be able to support a denial. If anything, you want them to have to ignore it, right? But it's nice when it's used to support the award because it's consistent in the judge's mind with medical evidence that suggests that would be so. And here you are saying it so. And you were saying it a year and a half ago when you did the function report, and now you're at the ALJ hearing. Okay. I don't think it's going to help at all at the lower levels. This is just my take. But again, if you say something bad, it can hurt at the lower levels. So, you don't want that. You just want to make sure it's done right. It stays in your case the whole time, guys. It stays all the way through judge and on remand. And sometimes when you reapply, like a whole new case, for those of you that can, I have seen them bring up an old work history report and or an old function report. And again, I don't understand how they can cherry pick and pick certain things to put in a new file. They do that with certain medical records. I see them drag up old CEs from prior applications for the person. CEs from back when they were 5 years younger, and not nearly as. So I don't think that's right, but that's what I see them do. It's kind of atrocious. Oh, Elliot, thank you. Oh my gosh. I don't normally see this, so I think this is really sweet. Wow, guys. That actually helps us. I don't know if you guys ever read the mission. For like the memberships and stuff like that, and anything else actually here, it goes towards having more available hours and people to work on. It's like a subset of 5 categories of claimants that have a tough time prevailing even when they're disabled. Some of them are called the 1%ers. Some of them are just the younger people that have that bigger burden, bigger mountain to climb under the SS rules. And we were able to take more already because of some of the generosity. So that's what we're trying to put that towards, being able to. And I know that doesn't necessarily help older claimants, but they don't really have a problem getting assistance by and large if they've, kind of done some basics. So it goes to, but sometimes there are older people. Did I ever tell you the one about, it was a fireman from 9/11 who, long story short, waited forever due to symptoms. Decade plus to file. To the point where the person is of retirement age, and trying to prove that something happened way back then when the person then refused to go for treatment for like 10 years. It was a mountain of, this is during COVID too. Wasn't something you would take on the merits or on the likelihood of winning merits. But I took it because I have a very strong, I'm a Jersey girl. So I saw the towers burning, and I just feel very attached to the people that devoted themselves at that time. And I also happen to be a big adorer of first responders of all kinds. So I took it on, and me and the wife worked really hard. Digging debt. We had to go to states across the country where people now lived. It was a real long, convoluted thing. And we prevailed, and it was amazing because I considered it a 1% case, like chance of winning, but you try to do everything you can, turn over every stone, happen to get an excellent judge, pure luck, who definitely saw what I saw and actually helped thread the needle to get the law to connect, to have someone who, skipped a million years of treatment due to PTSD symptoms. Anyway, so I digress. But those gifts are for that kind of thing. Okay, Frederick. Here we go. Nice to meet you. I don't think we met, Frederick. Hi, I'm 61, was married for 10 years, divorced. So you're at least 10 years and divorced after the 10 years, right, Frederick? Do I qualify for survival benefits, or do I have to wait to be 62 to collect my SS? So I think you're saying you are a divorced widow. You're talking about survivor benefits, right? So that spouse has passed away. You were married for 10 years. Yeah, there is, at the age of 60 and above, they provide for an earlier benefit. Now, one thing I would suggest when you're thinking about taking survivor benefits, if if waiting until your full retirement age would make that survivor benefit, which would now be 100% of theirs, if it would make it grow to be something bigger than you are going to get at 62 or even 67, I would wait to get that survivor. I would consider waiting to get it, play the numbers out. You're thinking of taking retirement at 62, so you're already thinking of taking a 35% hit off of your own retirement benefit for the rest of your life. I do think you can still potentially, I'd really want to confirm this before I say it because it's been a while. You might be able to take your own and then at full retirement age, take your survivor benefit. But what if your own would be bigger than that survivor benefit? What if letting your own go till 70 and you can take that survivor benefit when you want, if that survivor benefit is never going to be bigger than your own? If you let your own grow to the max, and it's going to be bigger than your survivor benefit would be if you let it wait till the max. And that would be your full retirement age, whereas the max on your own record would be 70. 70 is like an 80-something% increase over taking at 62. For the record, guys, it's a huge. You're almost doubling your benefit amount for the rest of your life. So it's just something to think about. But you should have, from what I'm reading here, Frederick, a survival benefit based on being married. As a divorced widow benefit. It can kick in at 60 if you want it, but you're only going to get 71.5% of that deceased spouse's PIA, primary insurance amount, because you're taking it so early at 60. If you wait to 67, you'll get 100%, assuming that, it should be 100%. But if yours is going to be, if that's going to be the biggest you can get, you might want to take your own, like take the one early that you don't care about later, because you're going to hop over to the other one. And unlike spousal benefits that I think in 2015, the law was signed that eliminated the ability to take a spousal benefit and then switch to your own once it's grown. That wiped out a lot of retirement benefits for a lot of people about to rely on them. It was really sad. There wasn't a lot of notice for these people. No way they could bounce back and fix their retirement. But they didn't do it to survivors. And I haven't heard anything to the contrary. So I might double check that. I don't think a law escaped me, because I think I would have heard about it. But it's always good to double check. So keep that in mind. Do your due diligence. Because yes, you can get a survivor benefit, but do you want to take that survivor benefit now, or do you want that to be your big caboodle at the end? Which one's going to be bigger if you let it wait? That's what I always look for. I hope that was clear. Okay. I'm just scrolling down, guys. I don't want to interrupt people's conversations. Oh, DJ, yes, you'll be diplomatic, right? Yes. Prepare in advance, like you're just like a patient wanting to make sure he knows everything and that you want to discuss it at your next doctor appointment, not like you're jamming it down his throat because he's incompetent. Recorder. Angie, okay. How long is recon taking right now in your experience? It varies. Honestly, I have some that I had one guy reconned and they booted him within 6 weeks. They downloaded his VA records and rebooted him. And he's in his 50s now, early 50s. He does have a remote DLI, though. So that might be why they're saying, well, the evidence from before the DLI was September of 2024. So it's not that old. But they probably feel they have everything from before then, which they do. But their response is wrong. The man is disabled for sure. But that's the SSI, right? So, he was reconned and booted, and I have to appeal for a hearing for him shortly. But some recons, because the adjudicator is not available for the case, can take, what are we saying, 6 months, a year? It's really bad. Really bad. Some people 15 months. It's and if you go that long, guys, I've said this before, I would be reaching out to my congressperson. If you have an adjudicator working on it that you can call and then I wouldn't. But if there's nobody there, that's when I would. Okay. Huang, good to see you again. You're a regular. Good morning. DDS is waiting for my bilateral x-ray for my ankles. Oh, and I think you said they ordered it for you, right? I think you told me that last week. To determine if I meet a sedentary ROC. Do I need to submit new diagnosis such as urine? I would. Heck yeah. Don't leave anything out. Urinary frequency. Yeah, that one can be, particularly if it's really frequent, like you're going to the potty twice an hour. Yeah, I would. I would tell them about it. And if you can access those progress notes from that urologist, like lickety split up your portal, maybe upload them at this juncture because they're about to make a decision, I would add it. Yeah, and you're 56, so you're in that good age. Long. All right, fingers are crossed for you. I think it sounds like you have a good case. Ah, yes, we've discussed this before. Jamil Dowling, nice to see you. I don't think we've met before. And guys, if I ever say that to you and we did, I really apologize. I'm usually pretty good with remembering, but I do have brain farts sometimes. Hi, is it good to bring medical records to CE exams? It can be if you know which ones are pivotal versus actually detracting, which people often don't know. So I would do it with caution. And the CE examiner gets paid a flat rate. He is not going to sit there and read your case file. He is not going to read 50 pages of medical records either. So let's say you have an MRI that's not too old, but let's say it could even be a couple years old if that's all you got. And it shows, because SSA will not order MRIs. They might order x-rays, which usually tell squat. If you have an MRI, for instance, that shows nerve impingement, abutment of the spinal cord, I'd bring that. It would be really hard to say which other kind of records would be helpful because it's not knowing your case. So I would say less than 10 pages. Don't exceed 10 because they're not going to take the time to read them. They're going to be aggravated. And I just think they're not going to read them because they're getting paid like a flat fee. Why do you think these things are like 15 minutes long? So tread cautiously. A real diagnostic, good report, like I just mentioned, could be good. Sometimes if it's a kind of current, or maybe not even that current, it doesn't have to be last week's visit, but if there's a progress note where they're talking about like really objective in the physical exam section, not just what you complain about, but in the physical exam section, if it's showing that, he tested your range of motion and it was very limited and painful, you had pain, he observed pain actions on your part, if there's edema, if you walk with an antalgic gait, you're limping, you appear to be in distress or in pain, those are good things because they're objective notations by your doctor, not just the review of systems section where you tell him what's bothering you, because that's considered subjective and they don't give it a lot of water. I mean, it'll be there in a positive for longevity of complaints, but not for medical evidence in and of itself. So sometimes medical evidence records of a very abbreviated kind can be good. Elliot. I'm 61 and diagnosed with cerebellar ataxia. I haven't worked in months, need a cane to walk. I'm sorry, Elliot. And struggle with fatigue, brain fog, and tremors. What are my chances of getting approved for? If you've been going to the doctor regularly and you've got the official diagnosis and they talk about, they prescribe the cane. Obviously, a lot is going to depend on your prior work. because that's what you need for the grids. But I think that's a very limiting scenario you have. And, you know, the fatigue and brain fog, they like to ignore that stuff. But if it's replete in your records, because you complain to your doctor that you go to on a very regular basis, the specialist for this, I hope, not just a PCP, I think you could have a good case. I mean, again, we don't know all the factors, right? But just a diagnosis, and that is not enough. But if your medical records are very detailed, I think it can be good. So I wish you the best in your health, Elliot, and your claim. Without our health, right? And it's tough. Oh, Neolog. This is about Elon Musk. All right. I don't want to get into this because people start tweaking. He's throwing out ideas. Well, they all have. It's not just him. He can't order anything. He's kind of the peon doing a lot of the brainiac work of figuring things out, but he doesn't have any decision-making power. Yeah, a dividend check. I think what you're talking about was I think I heard something on the news about if they can find $2 trillion, they want to return it to the taxpayers. And then some of us were debating like, well, why don't just put it towards a deficit? You know, like, you know, how's it really going to help anything if it's just still, you know? So everyone's going to have their opinion on that. I really want to see the big problem solved and not just like little band-aids and make you feel good kind of things. So that's kind of what I hope for. I don't think it would in any way affect an SSDI recipient, though. It has no bearing whatsoever. None. Finding out the waste in the SSA system and where some of those checks that don't have Social Security numbers attached to them are being sent would be a really good idea. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that. And I'm always kind of digging. But, you know, but just like stimulus didn't affect SSDI recipients, neither would something like this because it has no bearing. Oh my gosh, there's a dog under my desk. She snuck in. That's my Bernese mountain dog. She's smelly. We're working on that. Okay, Lord James, here we go. We're about an hour in, guys. I am not going overtime today. I'm getting more strict with myself. Does Social Security ask about side effects? Yes. I've never been asked that. Like, NSAIDs are absolutely horrible for me, but I've never had to tell it. Okay, yes. In one of the forms that you have, I don't think it's the application. So it must be there's something I do online though, where we put in maybe the appeal. Maybe it is. I don't know. We're doing it all the time. I'm like, which thing is it? It might be application or appeal. They ask for side effects or a function report, but it's definitely asked for your medications. So, and if you feel like you ignored that, because a lot of times, even my people, and I have to, you know, give them a little, can you redo this section of information we're asking for? They want to blow off the side effects because I guess they don't think it's important. Now, keep in mind, we don't ask anything that's not important. We don't have the time to play around, right? We don't want to waste the time to play around because we don't work by the hour and get paid by the hour as a general rule. So if you think you might have blown it off, Laura, I would put it together now and send it up to your adjudicator. Well, to your lawyers, perhaps, or however you want to do it. But you can update that. Everything can be updated and should be updated to the adjudicator anyway. So if you got a new drug, a new medication, and has a new side effect, yeah, I would, you know, make a nice little document and put it in there. It could just be typed out like, you know, oxycodone. I get drowsy and I get nausea or whatever, and you know, everything that happens, you can, you know, say which drug, the doctor that prescribes it. You could put the dose too, particularly if it's a high one. And then what the side effects are. Oh, what you're treated for. So what is it for? Pain, if it's pain or what. You don't have to be very, you know, specific. If it's a mental health medication, you know, you would put mental health or anxiety or whatever it is, and then put side effects. Definitely. Go for it, Laura. Oh, Jamie. I know I asked you a question and you're answering it. Let me just scroll up if I can find you. I don't know what the question was. Does he have a better chance on the remand hearing? Oh, and you said first one. I don't know if you're answering to me, Jamie. All right, so I don't know who's got the next question. Oh yeah, HVAC, Fwang is saying, is considered both medium and heavy in terms of physical demand. So any of you that are in HVAC and you have exertional limits now to a bad back or whatever, and your past relevant work is HVAC work, what is that? Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, right, Fwang? Good to know that, and you want to describe it as heavy as it was when you're doing your work history report. You want to describe, and this is for everybody, but this happens to be the example with HVAC. The more physical your work was, if you have exertional limitations, the easier it will be to prove that you can't do it anymore, that it's too exertional for what you're going through now. Very, very important for everybody, but specifically can be the pivotal point for people over 50 with the grids. Okay. All right. Work history reports, guys, are so important to get it right. It can make or break your, particularly for over 50s, it can make or break whether you win or not. If you do it wrong, it can be used. If you answer the questions, not understanding what they mean, or maybe you're being vague, or maybe you're being like, well, most of the time I did it this way, therefore. Now, sometimes you got to get into the nitpicky part so you can show how arduous it was at times. Even if it wasn't every day, because a job still required that, if a job requires that you pick up 70 pounds once a week, and you can't do that job, if you can't do that duty every Friday or whatever, that's got to be known, because then that job is no longer performable by you. So it's important to note that you had to lift 70 pounds, even if you didn't have to do it every day. My opinion. Okay. Oh my gosh, this dog is really stinky. I have her on Fresh Pet because of her stank. But right now I took her off, the dry, grainy stuff. And I'm going broke as a result, but you got to do it. Okay, Lulu. I tried to withdraw my case, but my attorney told me she wasn't going to do it. She doesn't have to do it. You can do it. If I get denied, maybe you mean, can I stop the whole thing? I don't want to go from doctor. I can't believe your attorney is defying your wishes. I find that inappropriate. My opinion. I've had clients who I didn't think they should drop their case, but they, for whatever reason, wanted to. And that's their decision. And I actually help them do it. So, I'll talk to them about, like, I really think you should. I think you have a good case. But if they have some, but it's a personal decision, and they are the boss of that kind of decision. Not how I do my job, but what job is going to be done. That's a little perturbing to me. I don't think that that's ethical, my opinion. I don't want to go from doctor to doctor. It makes feel worse. So that's why you want to drop your case, because you don't want to do the medical follow-up you need. If you have a good case, I wish you would do it. I just get it so you could prevail. You might need that money, right? But you do have that right. And, there is a form. Let me just see if I can find it. Is it HA 85? I'm not good at memorizing form names except the ones we use every day. Let me see, guys. I'm just going to see if you ever want to, if this is it or if this is the withdrawal. Oh, yeah. You can use the HA-85 form. It's going to say to withdraw a hearing request, but you can use it, I've been told, to withdraw your application too. SSA form withdrawal application. I think there's another one. But if you guys need this, it's okay. There is. Let's see here. SSA-521, request for withdrawal of application. You can Google that. I suggest you go to when a bunch of things crop up. I'm actually on DuckDuckGo, but whichever search engine you use, go to the one that is with SSA.gov if they have the form out there, and they do have this. It's right in front of my face. It's a PDF, SSA-521, the most recent edition. It looks like it came out in 2023. You can use that to withdraw your application. If your lawyer, you could also disconnect your lawyer. Now, I have heard people say the SSA staffer at the field office wouldn't accept my withdrawal of application because it didn't come from my lawyer. What the heck? You can use the, hold on, request to terminate. I'm just doing a search here, guys. It's when you want to, if your lawyer's not going to help you withdraw your application, and the SSA person, the idiot at the office is saying, "Oh no, only your lawyer can do that," then cancel your lawyer, and they have a form for that for claimants to do that. Attorney, for those of you that aren't interested in this, I am sorry. I just want to just get this up there because so many people do want to do this, and they don't think they can, and they can. All right. SSA. All right, I just want to make sure I get the right number. Claimant's revocation of the appointment of a representative. SSA-1696-SUP, S-U-P, and the number 1. So that's SSA-1696-SUP, number 1. And you file that, and they will disconnect you from your lawyer, and that person's no longer connected with your case. Then if you have to, do it that way, and then file your withdrawal of application. But I don't think a lawyer should be telling you how to run your life. And don't get me wrong, it stinks. I've helped people cancel the case after I put in a year of work. But you know what? The bottom line comes down to, what does that client want to do? Now, if the client were going to continue it later, because sometimes you can reopen it, and then I did have to work with the other, I'll still be wanting a fee, but that's not normally how it happens. Usually it's just so they want to stop. They want to be done with it, and it is just the way the ball bounces. And, if people didn't think they could do that, who's going to necessarily have the bravery to even file if they think that they're married to it and they can't change their mind? DH. Hi, DH. I don't think we know each other. Nice to meet you. Receiving SSDI and found out I could have deceased ex-widow's benefits. It will be a couple hundred more a month, just like winning the lottery. Isn't that great? And what's really, well, I don't know how old you are, DH, so it really depends on your age. Yeah. But yeah. Now keep in mind, if you take the survivor benefits at the earliest possible, such as, not before your full retirement age, then they will be curbed accordingly. So that might be something you want to wait for if it's going to be more than your own. It sounds like it is. So if you're SSDI, you're saying that widow's benefits would be more. Double check, because if you take them earlier than full retirement age, so your SSDI is gonna carry you to retirement age, right? 67 probably, and then you should be able to file for a widow's benefit at that point, because you don't have to do it just because you become old enough to, which would be age 60. Although disabled widow's benefits start as early as 50. They're not complete either. They're reduced, but waiting till 67, if you're already got your own and you can survive the way, and then you can get the maximum under your ex-spouse's PIA, That would be great. So when you say it could be, it's a couple $100 more a month, is that if you take it now? What if you wait? You can speak to the field office. They should be able to tell you these numbers, you know. But if you take too early, you could be cutting your nose and wishing you didn't, since you can get by now with the SSD. But wow, imagine if you take it now, you're only going to get 70% of hers or his. And then if you waited to 67, you're going to get 100%. And let's say their amount was 2,000, but it would have been 3,000, right? That's $1,000 more a month. So you got to look at the numbers and then really play with them and see what it means at taking it various times. All right. That's a great question, DH. Thank you. Laura James, how far back do they retro pay? I've anything from a year. Oh, you've heard things from a year to the date it became disabled. Yeah, if it's SSD, Laura, it can be, and I know we have videos on this, it can go back up to 12 months, up to 12 months before your application date. So whatever your application date was, and that includes protective filings, guys, if you did such a thing, as long as you are disabled at that time, they found that your established onset date did go back that far and goes back even further to cover the 5-month waiting period. So you got to kind of play that all out. There's a 5-month waiting period where you don't get any pay, and they will never pay you more than 12 months before the date you applied. So play with the numbers, play with the dates. Okay. It is one reason why we don't like to, put off applying more than 17 months. At least get a protective filing date if you're breathing down 17 months. So it'll give you another 6 months to get your stuff together. That's because if your application date is after 17 months after you say you became disabled and you went on that date, you are losing a month of benefits for every month that goes by after that point. So those people that wait 3 years to apply, they lost a year and a half of benefits. Yeah, kind of stinks. Would have been nice to have that in a little nest egg, right, in the back benefits pocket. Okay, LC. Hi, LC. Don't know if we know each other. How long does reconciliation, I think you mean reconsideration, phase last? Is it as long as initial? I got a rejection of the initial application now doing it. It can be. Sometimes they're faster than initial because they're not going to be doing the work history report. They've already got most of the records. They're just getting the updates. But the biggest wild card right now is, do they have an adjudicator for you on recon so they can they can do the workup right away. We've seen year-long waits, so it's not pleasant right now. Last couple of years have been very, very bad. Like I've never seen in the 20 years I've been doing this. Oh, there, you changed it to reconsideration. Yeah, I figured you out, LC. No worries. Cancer free, good to see you. Is it true if my utilities get turned off, can my disability lawyer speed up the process? Would it help to call my adjudicator? I applied back in May of 2024 and I'm 59 and unfortunately, because we spoke last week, right? On this. I feel like, now I haven't seen this in writing, but they say that the utilities such as heat or electric are part of your shelter. So I would tend to think if any of those get knocked out, you are now not fully in shelter. This is just would be my argument. I don't know if you have a lawyer. I forget, cancer free. I would call him. And yeah, you can call the adjudicator, but you would want to put a letter in, and get it to them with some sort of tracking. I would send it to the DDS and I would send it to the field office and put it in bold as that, in the subject, request for expedition due to, loss of full housing utilities or something like that. Be very honest about it. Attach the cancellation notice. If they get reconnected again, you have to let them know. So this is not something that you can happen for one day and then you think you're going to get it. I've seen people get spanked for that. I think I discussed it last week or the week before. I don't think it was in a video. I mean, it probably wasn't a video a year or two ago, but where someone who said they were going to be homeless because they were getting evicted. And so I was very naive at the time. I was much younger than I am now. This is probably, 15, 17 years ago. I did a letter saying, can this hearing be expedited because she's going to be homeless? We get to the hearing. She's living with her boyfriend, and the judge asks about it. And she was never going to be homeless. She was going to lose her. She got evicted from her home, but she had another home to go to. So it was embarrassing. I learned a lesson. I'll never do it without I'll let that, if they want to, I won't even submit something for them if it doesn't even meet the criteria, because that would be irresponsible of me. But they would have to give me an eviction notice, and then I will say, here, my client provides this, and here's her $795 swearing that she's evicted. So none of it's coming from me. I'm not putting my reputation on the line, because that was really embarrassing. And the judge did not take kindly to it, and she ultimately denied the lady. We won subsequently, but it taught me a very good lesson. Like, sometimes your client will say it when it's not really true. So not playing that anymore. Okay, Lula. We're going back to Lula. Lula wants to cancel her case. She has an attorney. The reason why she wants to withdraw her case, her claim, her application would be the more appropriate way to say it, is because this case has made my anxieties worse, and want to go out of the country for a couple of months. Already fill work. I don't know. So are you fighting for SSI, Lulu, or SSD? You can go out of the country for a couple months. Is your medical problems important enough that you would be getting treatment out of the country? Or is it so not a bad impairment, which might, go towards the merits of your case anyway, that you don't really need treatment? So that can be something to think about. I get it makes your anxieties worse. That's a shame, because it's I don't know your situation, but most people really need the income. But maybe you don't. I mean, you're able to go out of the country, so maybe you have, supportive family, who maybe a spouse, with some wherewithal. So that's good. It's your personal decision, Lulu. It's not anybody else's. I do try to give my people on the rare occasion, this has happened maybe 3-4 times in 20 years when someone wants to withdraw, but it is their choice. And I give them the cons and when I think it's a bad idea, but it's ultimately their decision, DH is talking about widow's benefits. My widow's benefit maxed out at age 62, 9 months, because X started as that shouldn't. I don't think DH. I don't think you get it off of her PIA, not the fact that she took it early and cut her own nose off. I believe. I haven't researched it lately. I used to do a lot of research on that when I used to do consulting for a company for their people on their retirement and widows and all that kind of stuff. And that was a long time ago. That was like 10 years ago. But I think a widow benefit stems off of their PIA, not off of when they applied. You follow? So do your due diligence with that. I'm just saying you might have it wrong. Am I 100% certain that I'm still right? I would say no, but I feel very strongly that you need to look into it, because I feel like I'm probably right. Okay. As you can tell, guys, I'm not one to swear something up and down if I'm not sure about it. So when I swear something up and down, I'm pretty darn sure about it. It is based on widow's cap at 82.5% of deceased PIA. That's if you take it early. Okay, so this is not when they took it, DH. It's when you take it. So if you take a widow's benefit before you're fully retired, yes, you're going to have that. It's going to be 71.5, by the way. Well, you're at 9 months, so maybe it goes up to, I don't know, does it go up a whole 10%? A whole 10 points? Not sure. Because you are 9 months, you're saying, after the age of 62. But I think you want to just relook at those numbers. I think you might have it wrong. Just saying. Okay. I'm not going to go research it now when we're, answering questions, but it's important to know. I mean, you should be able to talk to the SSA and say, hey, so I'm on, you said you're on disability, right? SSD on your own work record. Can I choose to take a widow's benefit once I'm 67 if I want to? And if so, how much would it be if I take it at 67? But there is stuff, the SSI site has pages, you just got to find them, that explain this. It should, I believe, depend on when you switch to widows, not when the widow took her retirement. Okay? That's the beauty of that her decision to take it early shouldn't screw you. Just saying. Bryant Harrison. Hi, Bryant. I don't think we've met. Nice to see you. Hi. Was it wrong when I told the psychiatrist? I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but it's always funny when it says, was it wrong when I did blah, blah, blah? That I get tired and lay down during the day a lot? He says, well, mostly your day is sleeping. And I said, yes. What's that? Well, no, if it's true. And, sometimes people sleep because of depression, Brian, and it can be debilitating. And they're fatigued. It's like our mental state affects our physical ability to stay awake and not be fatigued. It's very interesting how our mind does control a lot of our physical, right? So I don't think that was a mistake. Your tiredness might be because of depression. It could be also because of physical impairments you may have. There's a lot of fatigue going around, and a lot of disorders, physical disorders, cause fatigue. So, and then there's also chronic fatigue syndrome, an animal of its own. So I was just looking at some stuff on that. I keep meaning to do a video on it. But I don't think that was a mistake at all. If it's true, it's, the need to lie down during the day is something that would take you off of work task. And that means you might not be working 8 hours. You might only be working 5. And that would be disabled if the SSA or whoever's adjudicating your claim finds that is medically necessary for you to do that. Like you literally can't get up and stay up 8 hours. So they have to believe it first. And it's not going to be from your own mouth that it's going to be believed. That can be the icing on the cake, but you're going to have a lot of those complaints in your records. Are you seeing a chronic fatigue specialist? Are you discussing it also with your primary care all the time? Sometimes it's a rheumatologist. Lupus can cause intense fatigue, and that would be the rheumatologist. So it really depends on, and it could be multifactorial, right? I mean, it could be, you're going to a psychiatrist, so there's probably depression or anxiety that's just very fatiguing. And to escape it, our body just says, let's just go to bed and put the covers over our head, right? Because it doesn't feel good to be awake from a mental state, right? I don't think it was a bad thing you said it at all. I just think you should make sure that you're going full hilt with it. All the other ways that will drive that point home. Okay, from a medical evidence standpoint. And I do hope you feel better, Brian, because I know that's not a good place to be. So fingers crossed for you on your case, and even more so for your health, mental and physical, going forward. All right, bud? All right. LC. I already had mental examination from SSDI, and it went well. Good. I am in recon phase. Am I done? Was your mental exam on recon or on initial? If it was on initial, it obviously didn't work to your benefit. They often do not. So no, that's not a statement about the future end of your case, just that it didn't work to your benefit on initial. You're on recon. It could have been they gave you the CE mental examination on recon. Sometimes they do that. Am I done with CE examinations that I'm in recon phase, or I may have the physical or mental CE again? I don't usually see them do it twice, but I have seen it. But I would say it's on the rare side. Very rare. I've maybe seen it a couple times. So not impossible, but not likely. They're going to hang their hat on the one that denied you on initial, probably, unless you have really good your own medical records, which are the best records, you know, available, because that person treats you. You know, if you have been continually going and your provider is not one of those really bad providers that don't say squat in the records, mental health or otherwise, but they go on to talk about your mental status exam and you know, the evident things that show that you need the treatment, then you have a better shot. But if you're not, you know, going to them at all, that's obviously a problem. Lara James, fibromyalgia seems to be a hard one regardless of the level of pain. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, fibromyalgia is, I would almost say, if that's all someone's diagnosed with, they're probably going to lose. And that's rare, though, because most people with fibromyalgia have many other things going on. I don't think I've ever had a client that had fibromyalgia and nothing else. And so while we, you know, that fibromyalgia is a recognized impairment for SSI, thank goodness, but it doesn't mean they give it a lot of, the individuals within kind of have their own bias and they don't necessarily give it a lot of credence. You know, it's helpful if you have a rheumatologist with fibromyalgia. It's helpful if that rheumatologist and or your PCP both regularly do, you know, in their physical exam, do a little trigger point touching and record at each visit which ones are trigger points, tender, because then it'll be, because I think the old way of looking at it was there's got to be 11, and I think they did revamp this, but it wouldn't hurt to have it, 11 tender points in that, but all 4 quarters have to be affected. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of the 11 have to be in one of each of the 4 quadrants. And, you know, if you have visit after visit, not just with the rheuma, but with the PCP, and they're both doing it and they're both showing it, I would think that's helpful. But every other impairment, you know, like if you have a painful back due to fibro, I'd be going to an orthopedist to find out what else could be wrong with it. Because the SSA, if you find something like in an MRI of your back that's positive, meaning bad, it is something objective that the SSA now has something to feel comfortable holding on to. Whereas the subjective complaints with fibromyalgia, they more easily disregard because there's no objective proof of how severe it is. Just you're saying it. So it's a tough one, the fibromyalgia. So I'm always looking for other impairments, driving them home and seeing like we gotta work up this area. Sometimes it's migraines, you know, sometimes it's vascular issues, you know, edema in the legs, leg swelling. There's so many different things, right? There's as many different things as there are people, I think. Human bodies. Hi, Valerie. Very good to see you, my dear. What's your advice to say to someone who is absolutely convinced that our current administration will take Social Security away? All right, we can't go into this. All right, you know how I feel about this. They've been just misinformed, and it's a shame because there's a lot of shenanigans going out to keep people misinformed. It's been going on for years, and of course, it's full hilt now because how better to get the vote, right, Valerie? It's okay, you're late. I appreciate you're here. Yeah, it's kind of a joke, but you can't necessarily talk to people who are, you know, feeling that fearfulness. They gotta figure it out for themselves. Okay, Elliot. Blood work shows positive for. Oh, well, that's helpful. That's going up to your adjudicator, the blood work. So, again, sorry you're going through that. Laura James, yeah, the Bernices are pretty cool. Mine's a sweetheart. She's very loyal, overly loyal, I'd say. She does break into food, though. I have to say I was probably remiss with training her, so it's my fault. But she is a honey. She's a lover. Bryant Harrison. I was there for my CE and ME. So he's referring guys to consultative examination and medical examination. I think you mean the physical part, right? When you say ME, because normally in SS, ME stands for medical expert. But you're talking about a physical doctor for like an internist or whatever physical doctor, MD, they had for your, checking out your physical body. Total of 5 hours. Wow. That was the last person. I was the last person. You mean you were in the waiting room all that time, or they actually examined you all that time? They actually x-ray whole body. Okay. Because you had probably arthritis complaints and stuff like that. Good. You think that's good or bad? I think it's good if you have those problems that show up on x-rays, right? X-rays don't show up a lot of the stuff, which is frustrating. And the SSA won't pay for an MRI. So I'm often telling people if they have muscular, skeletal issues, arthritis, back problems, knee, shoulder, etc. MRI will show potentially more. So, they have to push for it sometimes. Sometimes the insurance company is going to make them do PT first, other conservative measures, injections. But then you still don't know exactly what's wrong, right? Until you get the MRI. So there is that. Elliot says he's going to Mayo. I assume Mayo Clinic for full workup in 2 weeks. Will SSDI accept my Mayo diagnosis? The SSA will accept any diagnosis that is provided pursuant to medically acceptable criteria, which is usually garnered from the actual medical profession and their rules. So absolutely. And Mayo Clinic has a decent reputation, so that's good. Good. And remember, it's kind of durational. It's important, guys, not just a one-hit wonder. I went to the doctor and he examined me. They prefer, hi, Christina, they prefer durational, where you go back time and time again, because then the doctor knows you better. So his opinion is more credible, his physical exam, it kind of works in a lot more. So. Thank you, Christina. She says, don't forget to share the video and press the like button. You're very kind. Yeah, Valerie, someone else talked about some sort of thing that I did hear about. No, I don't know that Trump's trying to approve an extra $200 for Social Security recipients. So I think that might be untrue. Don't hold me to it, though. I don't follow everything all day long. But I think that would be a mistake. No offense. I know we all want more money, right, guys? I do. I totally do. But I think right now we need to get the ship up right. So let's see how they can do that. Charlene Ferguson, nice to see you. Okay, this is interesting. The 5-month waiting period. I think it would be fair if they quit the 5-month waiting period. Okay. So the 5-month waiting period is akin to other insurances where you can't just buy it and then collect from it the next day. Because then people just buy it, they have a problem, they buy it for the problem and then collect the next day. It's supposed to be the risk of getting the problem. So partially that reminds me of the 5-month waiting period. And because people often do recover and go back to work within the 5 months. So here they would have had a claim. What if they win it right away? But also a nursing colleague of mine who does SSD work and LTD work, my wonderful friend Karen with a C. She's in Florida. She has expounded upon the reality. If you take away the 5-month waiting period, then the cost of that person getting benefits is so much more, right? So 5 months time, the benefits, let's say they have $2,000 in benefits a month. That's an extra $10,000, and that would apply to millions of people, right? Okay. So we all agree more money would be coming out of the fund. So either taxes have to increase, which I think, like SS taxes, I don't think that should be, or they have to reduce your benefit so they can give you those 5 months. It's kind of like taking early retirement. You're actually getting less per month because you decided to take an extra 60 months worth. Here you're taking an extra 5 months. Now there has been proposals and serious proposals, and this is an interesting one where you can choose to forego the 5-month period, which isn't a bad idea because some people are, it's starvation time, and get paid for the 5 months, but it will be like taking early retirement. There's going to be an incremental amount scraped off the top of your benefit amount. So if you're going to get $2,000 a month, you're going to get something less than that, because that less is going to be what's paying for the extra 5 months you get. I would imagine the less is not going to be that significant then, because if 60 months early is, say, a 35 or 30 or whatever it is reduction, 35%, when you're looking at the early retirement math. So 5 months is like so much less than that, right? That's like a pittance compared to 60 months. So I would think changing the 5 month, or giving the people the option, you either want a bigger amount or you want to have I think it's a really awesome concept, because it would be a, what do they call it? Some zero game, that nothing extra comes out of the Social Security fund, because you are just playing with your own benefits. You are saying, I just want to take the 5 months now so I have a bigger back benefit. Maybe you're behind your mortgage. I mean, it makes sense, right? That you would want to do this sometimes. Other people might not want to do it. Maybe they already have 2 years of back benefits. They don't need 2,500. I'm sorry, 2 years, 5 months. So it would be really up to the person. And I kind of like that. And I definitely like the fact that it's not going to weaken the Social Security fund. They're not just taking money out and giving it to somebody that they weren't doing before, like with the WEP and all that. So I like it that way. It's not going to hurt the fund. They have to figure out how to, technologically, do the numbers and get the calculations in, but that's all going to be like computer stuff. So I think it's pretty cool. And I think the option of the 5-month waiting period, Charlene, is a great one. With the net, the zero sum result. So nobody's getting more or getting less. Nobody's getting screwed, and the fund is not getting drained by one person over another person. You follow? So yeah, that has been in front of the eyeballs of people who actually lobby and work for these things. So that's actually out there. And I haven't really seen a negative to it. If they were just going to cut out the 5-month waiting period, the Social Security fund would go bankrupt, right? Unless they whacked up everybody's Social Security taxes. So one way or the other. So, and let's think about it. We used to pay 1% of a very small amount for Social Security taxes. Even though wages went up, you'd think the 1% would be sufficient. Now they're at what, 12.4% or whatever it is. So, once the government starts taking the taxes, they up the percentages. And next thing you know, you're paying 100% taxes. So just kidding. But seriously, it does rise up. So I don't want to see Social Security taxation go up. I want to see, but I do want to see the choice with the 5 months. I think that would be very, very helpful for people. Very helpful. And that would be very helpful for terminal people. Think about that. They don't get paid the 5 months, but they're going to not be able to use SSD for a really long time. At least give them the 5 months. There is 1 or 2 things that don't charge them the 5 months, but for the rest. Angie wants to ask about MRIs and what they show. What if the MRI just shows spondylosis/degeneration? Is that still helpful? It's helpful, but it's not going to be probably disabling in and of itself, Angie. It would be most helpful if, let's say, the person had a medium exertional job and they're trying to prove they can't do medium work, lifting up to 50 pounds, right? So it really depends on the case, how helpful it can be. Because some things you don't have to prove the back is disabling. You just have to prove it's got some limitations, that you can't do that, throwing the bag of cement on your shoulder or whatever. So it's better than nothing. It's not as strong as showing impingement or cord compression or anything like that, but it shows spondylolisthesis. I mean, there's something there, right? Clara Ross, hello again. We're at 2:40, guys, just so you know, another 20 minutes. When considering under the grid, what is the difference between a high school diploma and a GED? Nothing. And your last completed considered. Well, there is no difference between high school diploma and GED for functional purposes with SSA. I don't know what your last completed considered. I don't know what that means. If you're saying if it was, neither one of them are going to matter except that they show that you're not of limited education. Okay, like if you only got to 3rd grade, that's what that shows. That's even if it was 40 years ago. And education, like like graduate work, or or college, or even certifications and that kind of training, if they are very old, and I say very old, I mean like 4 or 5 years, that's going to be considered probably old. And that education will not transfer you directly into potentially a job. I have read, I think, and I'm not sure where, like which part of the SSA, but it was like something official, or that it tended to be that, like a college degree more than a few years old is not going to be something that they will consider transferable to put you right into direct skilled work. And it's all about whether you could go into direct skilled work when we're talking about that, not unskilled. So, it doesn't take long for these educational, the extra education to become moot. Because as long as it's not able to transfer you directly into skilled work, there you go. Jay Dilly. Hi, Jay Dilly. At first appeal stage, so you're on recon, I think you're saying, does a person who reviews your appeal, so you are denied at initial and you're appealing now, you're not yet into reconsideration? Is that what you're saying? Does the person who reviews your appeal send what paperwork you sent in onto a committee to make decision on appeal? Or does this person make the decision on your appeal? Okay, so I assume you're filing your appeal online, Dilly, Jay Dilly. And it goes into their computer system. The it's going to ultimately go, the decision maker is going to be at the medical office. That's the person who's going to take all the doctors that you put in your appeal and all your answers to whether you've gotten worse, you're doing better, new diagnoses, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be the medical workup office. It's not going to be the field office, which I feel like is connected to when the information first comes in, they register that there's an appeal. And they probably do something to get it to the adjudicator's office. I don't think it pops right into the adjudicator's office. I think there's some intermediate. That's just my gut feeling on that. I don't work in the innards there. But like when we do an appeal for somebody, let's say I didn't represent them already. So I filed the appeal online. I have the representation connection documents, the 1696, the 1693, and usually the 827. And I will then fax them into the field office because we don't even know where they don't have an adjudicator yet. So we don't necessarily know what the DDS is going to be. It goes through them and then up to there. We can't go there directly. I hope that answers your question. But the adjudicator at the medical workup office, same office that denied you on initial, is going to be making the decision. It's just going to be a different person than the person that denied you. It's going to be someone down the hallway, okay, reviewing it, reconsidering it. Phantom, is that Canuck or Canuck? Nice to meet you. I don't think we met before, did we? Unless you changed your name. I'm currently receiving SSI and under review. All right, so it sounds like you're having a CDR. I just started receiving Section 8 housing voucher with a rent of $164. Will this lower my benefit? Oh my gosh, I'm not sure. I honestly am not sure. I don't think so, but no, I can't say that for sure. Yeah, I can't say for sure because that all varies within states, and I don't really stay on top of the housing differences. You know, like, is Section 8 housing considered, and since you're only paying 164, which is less than that PMV we've talked about with the new rule change on shelter. But then again, does that PMV rule apply when it's governmental housing assistance? I have to say I'm not up on it. I can't tell you. I don't know when I would get around to looking that up either, because I don't have a lot of time to be looking up stuff that doesn't affect my caseload right now. So I'm really sorry I can't tell you, but you can call the SSA and they can tell you, supposedly. That might be what you would do. And you might even be able to call the Section 8 housing people, because they deal with this issue all the time with all of their people. Because my guess is, not all, but a lot of the Section 8 people are disabled and on SSI. So, you know, some are on SSD too, but. Yeah. Hi, Valissa. We met last week. Yeah, the acronyms, I know. Feel free to ask, like, type it in if you have an acronym question. I know it's all so many acronyms. I try to blurt out what they stand for at times, and then sometimes I'm so busy getting through it that I don't. So I apologize. But yeah, feel free to ask on any acronym, and I will clarify it. I also have playlists on most acronyms, believe it or not. Oh, Laura James, chronic fatigue syndrome. Yeah, it's a tough one. Okay, I'm just trying to see if there's any more questions, guys. We are getting down to the 2-hour mark pretty soon. Oh, Valerie, you did not offend. Nope, you did not offend. But I'll tell you, I have gotten beaten up by some people who are like, you know who I'm talking about, Valerie. I mean, I got tough skin, so I don't really care, but it's pretty funny. You just try to speak the realities, and people can take it or leave it. That's all. Oh, thank you, Christina. You are always so kind, my dear. Laura James, I have been doing this, yes, live every Wednesday, lunchtime. My friend and colleague Jonathan does it Wednesday nights, and I've participated with him a few times. He's really good. If any of you guys are interested, probably all of you have seen him. He's been around for a really long time. I just started doing this, doing the lives just like a month or two ago, not even 2 months, I think. And only because I can't stay up and do them at 8:30 to 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, like Jonathan can. I do them with him sometimes, but I get up at the crack of dawn. I mean, I'm running. Still got minor kids, and a zoo of household, so I am up early getting stuff done, and my mother lives here with us. So, and then I work for I work late into the evening usually, and I start really early. So staying up later is hard for me. I'll muster it sometimes to hang out with Jonathan, but that's when I thought, there's probably other people, disabled people get tired too. So perhaps a Wednesday lunchtime, it's the best time for me. It's when I tend to do my consultations, when I have consult work, because it's just my lunch hour. I can give that up easily. I can, gnaw on a protein bar if I have to. So yeah, Wednesday, 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the foreseeable future. As long as it works, we'll do it. Okay. And then people can ask their questions, and, short, quick questions are something that's so amenable to this. It's not like a consult where someone's going to delve into your personal and give you really like, fine needle threaded advice, but it can be, otherwise helpful, I think. So feel free, do join, and do feel free to share and subscribe and like. Jake, is this Lidal? Am I saying it right? Lidal? DAHL. Are you Scandinavian, Jake? I ask because I am half, at least half. And my middle name is OMDAL, but I think, and that's my mother's maiden name, I think a lot of times it's OMDAHL. So that came from Sweden on my side, but I don't know that it's Swedish, because my grandfather was Swedish, but his name was Peterson, and he changed it to Omdal, which I think was from one of the other Scandinavian countries. I don't think it was Swedish. I think it came from Finland or Norway or Denmark even. I'm not sure, but it's always fun. He's passed a long time ago, but great guy. He was a pharmacist in Sweden. So I used to get to go visit him in the summers when I was a kid. So Jake says, sorry, I digress, guys. But I always look at names. What does someone do if they have found new evidence after an appeals counsel denial? It's about 3 months after AC denial and a year after ALJ. And you have no outstanding case, Jake? You didn't take it to federal district court? Then you're SOL. You know what that means, right? S out of luck. Hopefully you can't even appeal. If you haven't appealed to FTC, you can't now because it's 3 months after AC denial, right? I mean, you gave up the deadline for appealing for FTC, unless perhaps there's some untoward reason, and that usually means, well, I don't know what that means, but if you can apply again, you would be putting that in your new case. Can you apply again? When's your DLI, date last insured? Date last insured. See, I said the acronym. Who was asking about the acronyms? Oh, Laura James, the time at night with Jonathan. Jonathan Ginsburg is on 8:30 to 10:30 Wednesday nights. There might be an occasional when he has to move it, but he's pretty reliable. Phantom Canuck, it's your first time turning in. That's great. Ah, Jake, gotcha. Okay. Did I miss anybody? Oh, John, gone. You're too funny. Oh, so hello, Maggie. Any idea in Florida how long it takes to even show my status on SSA from denial to appeal? My SSA portal still shows denied. Maggie, did you appeal online or did you do the paperwork and send it in that way? How long has it been? If it's been more than a week or two and you fully appealed, I would call your field office and inquire. Because if some glitch happened, you're going to want to get that fixed. I assume you have proof of your appeal and that they received it. Like online, you get that receipt right there, which is kind of handy. It should show up pretty fast. It should show up pretty fast. So I would stay on top of that. Call your field office. Laura James, Jonathan Ginsburg has his own channel. If you look up Jonathan Ginsburg on YouTube, you'll see him. He's adorable and he's so nice. And he knows his stuff. I'm just scrolling down, guys. I don't know if you can see me scroll. Is this something you guys can see? Jeffrey Taylor, thank you so much. It's my pleasure. The Augustine Machine. Good to see you back. Hi, Mr. Vincent, by the way. I see you there. The Augustine Machine. Okay, good to see you back. If your initial denial lists only the mental health issues you initially applied with and not physical issues you also documented, does that mean physical was not considered? Well, not really. Usually the initial denials say you alleged XYZ. And that's that little list you put on your application. They give you like 5 or 10 spots. I jam them in there. Like if they give me 5 spots, I'll like double up, like depression and anxiety under one. If you didn't include the physical issues, because usually that's like a cut and paste, I think. Like They take those impairments that you listed in your application and they smack them down. You allege, you claim this. I think that's the way it reads to me. But look at your explanation, the explanation page, and it'll tell you very vaguely, but it should give you the idea of which record sets they got from whom. It could go by health network if they are part of a big health network. But if you treat with a physical doctor for those physical problems at that health network, then those records should be in there and they know about it. When you appeal, obviously you're going to be including, you know, if you're not sure if you in your application, you didn't keep a copy of it, you're not sure if you listed certain impairments, go ahead and relist them again on appeal. Where it says any new impairments, if you're not sure, put it in there. You know, if you claimed it before, no harm, no foul. So if you're unsure, err on the side of caution, be conservative and put them in there. Don't just, you know, be like, well, I probably did, you know. You really just want to make sure you've covered your bases. And don't give them an excuse to not consider it. So, and they should consider, by the way, the Augustine machine, they should consider any diagnoses that show up in the medical records, not just the ones you talked about, that you listed. All right. So if diagnoses are in there that, you know, we don't necessarily put all of them. There could be 50 diagnoses. I mean, let's say 30, but you know, talk about the big 10. So it's a little bit more, thankfully, comprehensive than just what we put in the application. You know, so there is that. Okay. Yes, Laura James, Eastern time. He's on the East Coast. Yeah, Maggie. Hello, Maggie. If you're referring to my verbiage through a factory, there's always been, and I can't speak for any particular outfit, but there's always been, for as long as I've been doing this, you know, known companies that just they're based on volume. That's how they survive. So you can have 10,000 cases, and if you have a really bad win rate, like 50%, you're still, in your mind, if you're, this is the way they function, or the theory, they still got 3-car garages because they made millions of dollars based on a 50% win because they had so many. But to heck with the 50% that lost, that should have, or at least most of them should have won, you know? So that's what I mean by factory. They don't really do the work on the cases. They just submit the paperwork that they represent, and they hope for organic wins that took no doing on their part. Those kind. Volume-based, I guess, where there's no limit to how many they'll take, because it's all just like, there's no work done on it. So yeah, baby. Danny Ray. Oh, okay. It's Danny Ray. It's Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm on the East Coast. So basically lunchtime here, 10 a.m. for California, 11 a.m. for Mountain, and 12 noon for Central. I got a receipt from the factory, but it's to reflect. I don't know what that is. I don't really know what you mean there. Hello, Maggie. I'm sorry. Oh, GC24, you are so sweet. Touting me like that. That's super sweet. Yes. Yep. I don't think there's an H. I don't think that first H is there, Laura. I think it's Jona. But I believe that's how he spells his name. Either way, it'll get you there. You want to hear something funny? Wonderful client was looking for Jonathan and did a Google search, and a different Ginsburg came up, and she's my client now, ironically, but so she contacted this Mr. Ginsburg thinking it was Jonathan. I haven't talked to Jonathan since this happened, so I got to tell him. And only to find out that, oh my gosh, this is completely somebody totally different. And had a different first name, but she had just come out of some bad back surgeries and stuff and was a little out of it. And she retained him and then was like, no, my God. So I don't know, kind of funny. But yeah, Jonathan's like he's the king. Yeah, so Maggie, you just got I would call your field office if your appeal is that what it was? Appeal is not showing up. Yeah, Laura, that's funny, right? Yes, it is. Okay. Oh, it's 3:00, guys. Remember, I promised to end promptly because I'm not trying to encourage late arrivers. And we don't have any more questions, so I think we should say adieu, and I can get back to other work. All right. Sound good, guys? It was great seeing you all. Thank you so much. Feel free to subscribe if you don't. I've been told I should say this. Click like, share, and subscribe. All right, guys. Hopefully I'll see you next Wednesday. If not, 9:00 every morning, there is a daily share of something that came up in a workday or in the SSA world that comes across my desk, and I usually share it in the middle of a day. It will come out at 9:00, though, just so it's regular. I know we have one coming up. I don't think it came out yet. Oh, maybe it did. It was a little tidbit about a certain part of the function report. There should be another one coming out about that. One was question number 5. One's question number 6. You know, we have that playlist for function report assistance for people who are self-representing, or if they need assistance and they don't have a representative that assists with function reports. All righty. So anyway, I hope to see you guys then. And have a great rest of your week. And I will see you hopefully next week. Bye now. Oh, and if you need representation, you can always go to joydisability.com. Upper left is a little link for the free evaluation if you need representation for a current or soon to be disability claim where you're fighting the medical. It's not for overpayments or anything like that. In the upper right is if you don't want a representative, or you can't get a representative and I can't be representative, but you want consultation. That's all prepaid consultative stuff. Sometimes people do want that. They just want to get some basic information and learn about a particular area, and they want to run with it themselves, you know, because it's not appropriate for representation. Or it is, but they want to self-represent. Either way. But anyway, all that's available. So feel free to go to joydisability.com and check it out if that's up your alley. And if you do set an eval for a review for representation and an evaluation of your situation, give it a day or two tops. If you don't hear from us, it could have gotten lost in the emails because they shoot them over. You can shoot me an email and, you know, we'll take it from there. But one way or another, we'll look at it. And first we look to see if we have any openings in that particular category. And then if we do, I'll be calling you. If not, one of us will usually respond to that effect and explain, you know, some things that might look like weaknesses in the eval information you gave and what you might do to improve that. If we see it and if we can do that, we will. Okay? I will talk to you guys later. Have a great week. Bye.